Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth.
It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
Leave no doubt tonight. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, April 10th edition. And we've got a jam-packed live stream this time. We've got news for both sports. We're going to talk football at the front end, basketball at the tail end, but we've got transfer portal updates for both of those sports. Football has secured a commitment. The first defensive player to join the 2026 class had been all on the offensive side. Got a commitment from a lengthy defensive back that we'll talk about here momentarily. Plus, more players have hit the portal there from the football team. We have 4 new entries to talk about, all coming from the defensive side. We'll highlight those. And then we have more staff additions as well. We knew West Virginia was going to have a large coaching staff this season, and following, the conclusion of spring, they've noticed, some spots where they felt like they needed to add some extra help. So they went out and did just that. And we have, I think, 3 different staff additions to talk about on the football side. And then, of course, when we switch gears and talk basketball, we've got portal news as far as one player deciding to leave the Mountaineers. We've got more portal news that's positive with West Virginia in the running for another really good guard, much like Honor Huff that we talked about on our previous stream. This guy is right up there with him, and West Virginia is also in his final list of schools there as well. So bunch to talk about here. We're going to talk football, we're going to talk basketball, and try and hit on all of those topics. But appreciate you guys tuning in here live, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. Those of you that are tuned in on Facebook or Twitch, encourage you to come over to the Country Roads webcast YouTube channel, subscribe here. That way you can get access to the pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes we put out in addition to these live streams. And those of you that watch this on YouTube, whether live or after the fact on a playback, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, give the video a like, help us out with that YouTube algorithm. That way this video will find more Mountaineer fans like yourself. And if you are one of those and you haven't already, be sure you're subscribed here to the channel to stay up to date on these ever-developing rosters for both West Virginia basketball and West Virginia football, and of course recruiting for West Virginia football as well. And that's what we're going to lead off with here. West Virginia scoring a commitment for the defensive side. Emory Snyder joins the class for the Mountaineers. Let's take a look here at his commitment graphic he shared on social media. Then we will take a look at his profile on both 247 and Rivals, and then take a look at a little bit of a write-up on him from Keenan Cummings, who does a great job with those commitment 101s. So here is the commitment graphic shared by Emory Snyder, the defensive back, saying, "Take me home, hashtag hard edge, hashtag committed," and the nice picture there of him at Mountaineer Field. So that's what we know of thus far from him. But let's take a look at some of the profiles here, if I can find the correct tab. I got like I said, it's a jam-packed show. I got a bunch of tabs to try and pull up here. I got a lot of stuff to share with you guys. But let's see here. Emory Snyder. Let's pull him up here on 247 first. Look at the length of this guy for a defensive back. I believe he may play corner, but with the 6'4" frame and 205, I think this could be a guy that ends up playing safety or that nickel spot in this defense at West Virginia. But 6'4", 205, listed as an athlete here on 247, recruited as a defensive back to WVU out of Bixby, Oklahoma. The first commit in this class from Oklahoma. Not yet rated on 247. I'm sure that will change in the near future. Other schools that were after him here, I see double-digit offers: West Virginia, Rice, Sam Houston, Tulsa, Washington State, Colorado State, North Texas, just to name a few of those. So there he is on 247. Let's take a look at his rivals profile now, and then we can add him to our transfer in list, and then we'll talk a little bit more about him, courtesy of the write-up from Keenan Cummings over on Rivals as well. So there was his profile on 247. Here is his profile on Rivals. If I can find it, I just had it pulled up. There it is. And he is actually listed as a cornerback on Rivals rather than the athlete that he's listed at on 247. Like I said, 6'4", 205, consensus on that size there. So definitely a rangy corner. He is a 3-star here on Rivals with a 5.5 grade. Also was pursued by Oklahoma State, which wasn't listed on the last list of schools there. But love the length, love the addition of a defensive player to the 2026 class. So having said that, let's pull up that class now and show you guys how it stands currently. Now that we have the addition of Emory Snyder here to join the class. Like we said, the first player on the defensive side. West Virginia doing a good job on this class already. Here it is, only April, and already 5 commitments. All of them pretty talented. And Emory Snyder, I think it's good to get one on the defensive side. And how about a 6'4" defensive back, man? You can't ever, thumb your nose up at that, especially coming in with that size, still with room to grow, being as young as he is. Still yet to go through, the college, Mike Joseph's program there in the college, what's the word I'm looking for? Athletic training, the college facilities that he'll have access to will make that frame even better and make him even stronger. So 6'4", 205. Like I said, listed as corner. Would not be surprised to see him end up as a safety. But let's see what Keenan Cummings has to say about the new addition here, as he does a great job with these commitment 101s and transfer 101s. We always like to try and share those. And here's another good one from Keenan Cummings over at Rivals, talking about Emory Snyder. 6'4", 205. Picked the Mountaineers over a list of scholarship offers, which we went over those already. 3-star prospect on Rivals, got his scholarship offer back on February 13th, and continued to develop with Nichols/Sam's coach Henry Weinreich serving as the lead recruiter A. So score 1 for Henry Weinreich, and I'm wondering if that means he will end up playing that nickel role specifically. He definitely has the body to fit there, kind of when you look at his body compared to the body frames of the other guys West Virginia has playing that nickel spot this upcoming season. We talked about his profile there. He visited back on March 10th, where he was able to get an up-close look at the Mountaineers and how he could fit. From there, took some time to weigh his options before committing to the program exactly a month later. Yeah, today, April 10th. Being targeted as a defensive back in the West Virginia defensive scheme with the ability to move around to multiple positions. His junior season, he had 45 tackles, 14 pass breakups, 6 interceptions, and a forced fumble. 5th commitment, first one on the defensive side. Here's a little bit about his skill set. Versatile defensive back that could slide into several different roles at the college level. Already has plus size and runs well, given that, displaying plus ability in coverage. Cornerback at the high school level, he possesses excellent length and understanding of how to play the football in the air, as evidenced by his 6 interceptions. Yeah, that's a really good number, especially in high school. Given his size, Snyder is a physical option that isn't bashful when it comes to delivering a big hit, a willing tackler, and plays with the physical element that the Mountaineers want out of their secondary pieces. Given his speed, versatility, and size, Snyder is an ideal fit for the nickel position in the West Virginia defense, but he's going to have his cracks at other spots as well. A plus pickup for the Mountaineers. Let's see if we can take a look at some of these highlights here. It'll probably have an ad. Of course it does. So once this ad, we'll take a look at some plays here of Emory Snyder. But I do like that right up there. I love that he has speed to go with that size, making him a little bit versatile. And as we kind of expected, he will fit into that nickel position. So let's take a look at some stats here. As you see on the screen, here he is right here playing the outside. Wow, great pass breakup right there. Oh, wow, he grabbed that, actually. That's an interception. Nice stuff there. He broke on the in-breaking route and then stayed with the receiver through the scramble drill there on the sideline and then went up and high-pointed the football to get that interception. Here he is being attacked on a deep ball, and yet again, high points the football, goes up and bosses the receiver, actually. You don't see that a lot from defensive backs, like what I'm seeing with his ball skills here in this. And there's another great play right there, diving for that interception. Okay, I'm impressed even more now when I see a little bit of the film. And look at that. There's the hard hit that they were talking about. Some good stuff there in just the first 3 or 4 plays of his huddle highlights. So definitely encourage you guys to check out that full thing if you get the chance. But Emery Snyder, the latest addition to the 2026 WVU football class, the first one on the defensive side there. So excited about that one. And now let's do the transfer update here, and then we will talk the football staff additions before we switch gears and talk a little bit of basketball. So on the football side, 4 more players have entered the transfer portal, I think bringing the total to 27 now. This was the list from before. We went over it previously. Now the 4 latest names here, defensive back Mikey Preston, a former walk-on. Same goes for Nasai Bell, who was there at that nickel spot, which we just talked about. And then 2 corners, Keon Washington and Jacoby Spells. Spells, kind of the one that I hate to see because he's someone that was so highly regarded as a recruit. We were all excited when we got him. If nothing else, we'll always have that pick 6 to seal the big blowout win over Virginia Tech to remember with him. But I thought he was a guy that eventually was just going to hit his stride and come into his own and be a really good cornerback. And he may very well be that, but it won't be at WVU as he's entered the transfer portal. And then Keon Washington is kind of the flip side of that coin, as I think he was someone we hadn't seen yet, but had pretty good potential. But he decides to enter the transfer portal as well. So 4 more defensive backs now off the roster. I'm not going to pull up the WVU roster tracker to remove them from that because I want to put out a pre-recorded video either later tonight or early in the morning doing another roster update where we remove those 4 guys. But they are transferring out, so there's the 27 names now that are transferring out of the program thus far, and probably we'll have more news on that coming in the near future. So that's what we had recruiting-wise and transfer portal-wise on the football side. The last thing we want to talk about here before we talk about some basketball is staff additions. 3 new members to join the West Virginia football coaching staff. Let's go ahead and pull that up here now and highlight each of those a little bit. Let's see if I can find the correct tab. Here it is. The first one that we saw a couple of days ago is Hannah Braxton joining the staff as the Director of On-Campus Recruiting. So obviously probably when players come in on official visits, unofficial visits, she'll be working with them hand in hand. I'm helping out with the recruiting side of things. And if, the way West Virginia's 2026 class is shaping up is any, example of how this is going to play out, then I think she's already doing a good job. So shout out to Hannah Braxton joining the staff there as Director of On-Campus Recruiting. And then we added another assistant offensive line coach as well. Neither one of these two, Hannah Braxton or Traylon Brown, had a press release from the university. But Traylon Brown was an offensive lineman at Jack State, super highly regarded as a player. I think went to the NFL. I didn't get drafted, but maybe spent some times on a couple of camps there in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, before deciding to get into the coaching ranks and rejoins Rich Rod now as assistant offensive line coach. I think he's the 3rd assistant offensive line coach that we have. So we have plenty of bodies there helping tutor those guys on the offensive line, I should say. There, Traylon Brown now another one of those names that'll join the list. And then the last one here, we do have a press release for. We'll pull that up momentarily. But that is Michael Polachik, I believe is how you pronounce it there. And he has been hired as assistant athletic director and the head athletic trainer for football. So he joins the staff, and he actually does get a press release. So let's pull that up really quickly here. Just released earlier today. West Virginia has announced that Michael Polachik has been hired as the assistant athletic director, head athletic trainer for football. He's a native of Snellville, Georgia, comes to WVU after serving as the director of sports medicine and head athletic trainer for football at Jack State for 4 of the past 5 years. So there's another tie to Rich Rod. Traylon Brown and Polachik both have that. He worked in athletic training at the Andrews Institute for a year between his stints at Jack State. At Jack State, he was the sports medicine administration supervisor and responsible for the day-to-day operation of the athletic training unit. He was the physician liaison that coordinated the with the Andrews orthopedic team, was responsible for providing on-field evaluation of all football student athletes, supervised the sports medicine staff, and was in charge of the monthly continuing education for the program as well. At WVU, he will manage all aspects of the athletic training unit for the football program. He will coordinate the prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, and management of athletic-related injuries for assigned student athletes. Polachek will administer emergency care and assist in making medical referrals and manage system of injury records on appropriate student athletes. He also will coordinate communication among parents, physicians, student athletes, coaches, team dietitians, as well as sports mental health professionals. Along with his certification in athletic training, Polachek is also certified in functional movement, screen, and blood flow restriction. He graduated with his bachelor's degree in athletic training from Georgia College and State University in 2014, and earned his master's degree in education from Virginia Tech in 2016. So welcome to the staff, Michael Polachek. So now we'll pull up our staff tracker and go ahead and show you where these guys' names have added in. Well, I guess I should say these ladies and gentlemen. Hannah Braxton and Michael Polachek here under the support staff, the director of on-campus recruiting, and then, of course, Polachek, the assistant AD and head athletic trainer for football here on a long list of support/front office staff members, which this isn't even all of those. Just tried to highlight some of the major ones here on the staff tracker. No changes to the defensive side lately. That remains the same. And, of course, the change on the offensive side here is adding the other assistant offensive line coach, Traylon Brown, which I was right, the third assistant offensive line coach on the staff. So plenty of hands and plenty of minds to help tutor those young men on the West Virginia offensive line there as the staff continues to build here for Rich Rod's 2.0 era. But that's what I had on the football side, guys. Now in the back half here, we're going to talk some basketball updates. We got positive transfer portal updates to talk about, I think, and then, of course, one that's a little bit more negative. But before we get to that, I'm going to take a swig of my water here, and then I want to get to some of your all's comments. I see Drum Wolf in here. What's going on, Drum Wolf? Good to see you. Let's go Mountaineers. Shaq says 20 people in here, only 7 likes. Show some love and hit the thumbs up button, please, and thank you. Yeah, thank you, Shaq. Appreciate you always mentioning that and helping me out with that. Yeah, I mean, we're up, double that many amount of people in here now at least, and hopefully the likes have doubled as well. But if you're in here watching live, just take a second, hit the thumbs up button there. If you're on YouTube, it helps a ton with the algorithm, and you can do that if you're watching on the playback as well, and it will still help us out. Shaq said, "Shit, I just want to go on a recruiting trip just to hang out with her." I heard that, Shaq. I think I've seen a few people sharing similar sentiments there when her announcement there, the tweet that they put out for sure. So definitely should help with recruiting, being easy on the eyes as well, right? Can't hurt. I'm sure she's great at her job to be able to get it at this high of a level as well. James Lucas said, "I made all the players leaving. I might have to go on strike for a 125 limit." Yeah, I know. Hopefully they're talking about maybe doing that, grandfathering in people and stuff, but it's a little bit late for that. That's what I talked about in the previous stream where we talked about these transfers. It's crazy that they're just now thinking of stuff like that as, it's a little bit too late, too late type deal there, unfortunately. But appreciate you guys throwing your questions, comments there in the live chat. Continue to do that. I'll catch up on those one more time before we wrap up the stream here. If you guys got any other questions, always appreciate your interactions. If you didn't get a chance to be in here live, you can throw them in the comments. I'll try and respond there as well. Always appreciate those interactions. Also, let's talk a little bit of basketball, guys. Let's start here with the more negative side of the transfer portal updates. That being Offering Ave, unfortunately, deciding to leave West Virginia. We thought that he would be here for his whole career after how long he had stuck it out now, and it had certainly become a fan favorite because of that. But he put out a really nice message here, so let's read through it, and then we will pull up our transfer portal tracker where we can now add his name to the transfers out list, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and see what he had to say here first. "After a lot of thought and conversations with those closest to me, I've decided to enter the transfer portal and explore the next step in my basketball journey. To the people of West Virginia, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Coming from across the world, I wasn't sure what to expect when I arrived in Morgantown. What I found was a community that embraced me, supported me, and showed me what it means to feel at home, even when you're far from it. To my coaches, team, staff, and fans, thank you for believing in me, pushing me to grow, and standing by me through every step. I'll always be grateful for the time I spent here and for the relationships I've built that will last a lifetime. This isn't goodbye forever. West Virginia will always be a part of my story. With love and gratitude, Offering Ave." So Offrey heading out. Let's pull up our transfer portal tracker here, add him in. And then we got to talk about a couple of more targets that we can highlight here as well, the more positive side of the update, as I was just previewing a little bit earlier. And one of those being positive because West Virginia is in the final top 6 or top 5 for another really talented guard. We talked about Honor Huff. You guys have heard me rave about him in the past. He's my number 1 on my wish list, but this other guy we're going to talk about isn't far behind. So here's where we sit. Transfers out, now up to 6 names with Offrey Neve joining that list. 2 transfers in, hoping to have some more join that list, and these are some of the prospects we're looking at as potentials that could join that list. I've covered all of these in the past and previous streams, but these are the 2 new ones we want to highlight. Ante Brezovic from the College of Charleston, a forward, and then Wes Ennis, the guard from Lincoln Memorial. I want to spend a little bit more time on Ennis, but let's talk for a second about Ante Brezovic before we do just that and talk more extensively about Ennis, who I'm super excited about. He's right up there with Honor Huff, in my opinion. I think if you can land either one of those 2 guys, you're talking about a guard that can be a starter and really a good scorer and a good player for you overall anyway. So College of Charleston transfer Ante Brezovic has heard from these schools since entering the portal. This is again from Sam Kaiser on social media here. You see a long list: Baylor, Clemson, Cincinnati, DePaul, Georgetown, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas State, Mississippi State, UNC, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Pitt, South Carolina, Texas, Texas A&M, UCLA, USC, Vandy, Villanova, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Xavier, and of course West Virginia. So with that many people coming after you, you probably have some impressive numbers, right? So let's pull up his stats and talk a little bit about him, because certainly highly sought after. Another really good rebounder that West Virginia, continues to target here in the portal. And Brezovic is not only a good rebounder, but a great scorer as well. I mean, you look 18 points per game. That's, up there, top half of the country. They're tied for near top 60. They're at 63rd in the top 60 in rebounding as well, with 8 rebounds per game. So you're looking at nearly a double-double guy, and someone that's getting that double-double with 18-plus points. Not to mention a good passer for a big man as well, with his 3 assists per game, 54% field goal percentage. 6'10" would be even more size to add to the roster, something they've done a good job of adding thus far with the 2 transfers in, and DJ Thomas coming in from the high school ranks as well at 6'8". So as far as his numbers are concerned, actually can shoot the basketball a little bit, 32% from the 3-point line, something that he improved a lot from the year prior. Really impressive on the field goal percentage with 54%. Not terrible from the free throw line at 67%. You mentioned the rebounding numbers and the assist numbers, which are huge pluses there for a guy his size. And of course, you expect a good defense, a little bit of rim protection there as he averaged 1 block per game. But I think it's impressive that he averaged nearly a steal per game as well. So not only is he a really good offensive threat, but he looks like he can play some good defense, grab and hit the boards hard as well. Easy to see why he's highly sought after with all those programs after him. But West Virginia getting in the mix, at least that's something good that you can say about that. But let's talk more about a guard that West Virginia is in his final choice of schools. We talked about in the previous stream with Honor Huff, West Virginia being in his final 5. And how about West Virginia being in the final 6 here for Lincoln Memorial transfer Wes Ennis, coming from the Division II ranks. And this is a guy that had 70-plus Division I programs going after him. You've seen multiple guys here in recent years make the jump from D2 to D1 and have great success. I believe one of them was on Florida's roster, if I'm not mistaken, this season here. And, of course, they won a national championship. But Wes Ennis had Zoom calls with all of these schools and has zeroed in on the following schools per his agent. So here's the 6: Minnesota, Iowa, NC State, South Florida, DePaul, and WVU. So, we mentioned guys being on commitment watch for in the last stream. We were talking Grant Newell. We were talking Jasper Floyd. We were talking Honor Huff, with West Virginia being in his top 5. And I think we have to add Wes Ennis to that list as well. And Wes Ennis, Honor Huff is probably the better shooter of the 2, but not by much. They can both really shoot the basketball. Here's a look at Wes Ennis' stats from last season at Lincoln Memorial. 6'2", 200-pound guard, so good size. You see he scored 35 points in a game once. He hit 7 threes in a game once. And when you look at his overall numbers, you're talking about a guy that shot 45% from the field and 41% from the three-point line. So an absolute sniper, right up there, close to what Honor Huff is. Of course, he was doing it at the D2 level, but nonetheless, that's still impressive. 85% from the free throw line. And he averaged over 20 points per game, guys. 20.3 points per game. Super impressive there with those numbers. 36 steals on the season. So I think what he brings, not to say that Honor Huff is a bad defender, but Wes Ennis I think is a bit better on the defensive end. So if you want somebody that's a great scorer and great shooter and is going to be a threat defensively as well, you might prefer Wes Ennis to Honor Huff even. I think you can't go wrong either way. Ennis a little bit more lengthy, as we know Honor Huff is below 6 foot. And just a little bit more here on Wes Ennis. Here he is from Will Homan on social media. Is a portal name that will add a lot of value to our program. Brings high-level shot-making ability, toughness, plus competitive as hell. Not only was he the player of the year, but he was also the defensive player of the year in his conference there at D2. So that goes to show a little bit about what we're talking about with him. And let's share a couple of plays here. Take a look. There you see the shooting stroke. He is a lefty, which, sometimes can give you an advantage as well. But not only is he a shooter, he can attack the rim, as you see here on these two finishes. There with a nice Euro step in the reverse layup. There's good basketball IQ to get the pump fake and then get the shot off still yet. Another good one attacking the basket. I was hoping they would show some defensive highlights on here as well. Crafty with, knowing how to get to that left hand and get that floater up right there off the pick and roll. There's the nice pass there out of the pick and roll, which is something that's important in the Ross Hodge offense, as we've talked about in the past. There he is off the ball, making a move, a good cut to the basket there, and then finishing the play. Still, I was hoping to see some defensive highlights here in this one. None yet. There he is on the fast break with another. He has a sweet stroke, man. It looks really good when he pulls that thing. A little bit offset. He doesn't have his feet exactly square. He's got a shooting style where one of his left foot's out a little bit in front of his right foot, almost turned him sideways a little bit. But the stroke itself and the release is really good, as you see there on a step back. Right there, man. He would be a phenomenal shooter, and I think he's one that the game definitely translates from Division II to Division I, and obviously someone that has 75 plus players, 75 plus schools after them, and you saw the top 6 there are all very well-known programs. Everyone is expecting him to transition seamlessly to this level, and I think he's good enough to even be a starter at this level, despite coming to a power conference team. He's right at the top of my wish list. There was a nice little defensive highlight. Finally got one in there. But he's right at the top of my wish list right there with Honor Huff. So let's pull this back up now. Pull up our transfer portal tracker one more time and talk about names you should be on the lookout for. And, of course, the guys that are on the top of my wish list. And then if you guys got any questions, comments, throw them in the chat there. I'll catch up on those one more time before we close this out. But, of course, we just talked about Wes Ennis and Ante Brezovic. Both would be phenomenal ads. They're both near the top of my wish list right now. But as I've talked about previously, West Virginia's added a center. They've added a forward via transfer and Brendan Lorient. And, of course, they've added a forward from the high school ranks. So they have some good length, some good front court options. I would love to see us pick up a couple back court options now. So you guys know Honor Huff, top of my wish list. I think Wes Ennis now is right there, probably 1A and 1B. If we don't end up landing one of those, I think Don McHenry would be a good consolation prize, if you can call it that. He's talented as well. But I think our top 2 guard targets seem to be Honor Huff and Wes Ennis. If we can end up with either one of those, we're in great shape. If we end up with both of those, that's pipe dream level stuff, guys. That would be absolutely amazing. So keep an eye on those guys. And then I think the North Texas players are definitely still in play, still on commitment watch for Jasper Floyd, who's another great guard, and then Grant Newell. But of everyone else left in the portal here, I think Brezovic is probably the most talented if we're talking front court players. So my wish list is definitely Honor Huff, Wes Ennis, Jasper Floyd, Brezovic, probably in that order right now. But I think, if you land any one of those guys, you're doing a phenomenal job with what you've already brought in with Obi Oha and Lorient, and then still some other good targets left on the board. All the names in black here are still uncommitted. The ones in red have obviously committed to other programs. The ones in blue, of course, have committed to WVU, as we have them up here on our transfer in list. And we'll continue to bring these transfer updates as I see West Virginia contact more players. I'll come on here and highlight them as I have throughout this process. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get good news on someone committing and we can add them to that transfer in list here in the near future. So that's what I had, guys. Just to recap, Emery Snyder joins the football side as a recruit there on the defensive side in the 2026 class, which is now up to 5 names, I believe, and him being the first on the defensive side. We have transfer portal news, 4 more defensive backs leaving the program. Then we have, of course, 3 new staff additions, an assistant offensive line coach, a director of on-campus recruiting, and then an athletic trainer for football. And then, of course, the transfer portal update here on the hoops side, being Offrey Neve transferring out, but West Virginia targeting a couple more transfers and being in the finalists for both Wes Ennis and then Honor Huff that we talked about on the previous stream. So that's what I had, guys. Other than that, I'm going to get to some of y'all's comments before we close this one out, but appreciate you guys tuning in live, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. If you're on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube, subscribe here so you can get access to the pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes we put out in addition to these live streams. You also can become a channel member and get all kinds of bonus content, and that really helps us keep this mic recording and keep that camera rolling, and we'll always give you a ton of extra content. So if you're someone that can't get enough WVU sports content, becoming a channel member here of the YouTube page is a way to get a lot extra content, and we really appreciate our channel members. Those of you that are watching here on the YouTube side, whether live or on the playback, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Help us out with that YouTube algorithm before you head out, and be sure to subscribe here to stay up to date on all the off-season WVU basketball and WVU football news going on throughout both programs, as they're both building rosters and building coaching staffs as well, apparently. So that's what I had, guys. Let me see if we got any other comments here. Chad Atkins, good to see you in here, man. Says, misses the old days of recruiting and building a program through this process and building depth. Players seem to be more committed, and those fifth-year seniors produced for WVU. I know, man. There's just something else to hate with the way the game has changed. Not only is it bad enough that it's the wild, wild west right now, but it really hurts programs that have been traditionally developmental ones like WVU, because now those guys that you could keep in your program, and then year 3, year 4, and year 5 in some cases, they really start to show out and have great careers here after developing over time. Instead, you're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of those guys that would be those guys down the line getting, having to transfer out because these new roster limit rules, and instead you're bringing in 1 and 2 year mercenaries, which I know is just a way totally different way of doing it in the past. Not saying it can't be successful, but it is just a huge change to try and get adjusted to for fans, for sure. But if it brings the wins, what can you say? You can't complain, although you would love to have those guys on your roster over time like we have in years past. I'm right there with you, Chad, on that for sure. Hey, Burdetta Millie, good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. He says, what's the football news? I think I gave you a little recap there. Hopefully you caught what I said there as far as the football news, which is new members joining the coaching staff, and then, of course, 4 more players transferring out. But you can always go back, rewatch the beginning of the show here. That's what I covered at the front half of the show, was the football news before we got into the basketball news. But that's what I had, guys. Appreciate everyone that tuned in here live. If you didn't get a chance to tune in live and throw your questions or comments in the chat, throw them in the comment section on the playback. I will respond there as well, and always appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. But having said that, guys, I'm going to hop off here. If any news comes out throughout the evening, maybe I'll come back, do another stream. I will be putting out a pre-recorded video on the channel either late tonight or early in the morning, another roster update now that we can remove those 4 defensive back names from the roster, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, hit the like button before you head out here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and be sure and comment if you didn't get a chance to talk to me in the live chat. I always appreciate your guys' interactions, and I'm sure I'll talk to you guys again in the near future. It's going to be live pretty much every day. There will be a stream updating either one or both sports, depending on what news comes about, as both sports are, having a ton of transfer news, and I'll be covering it all here for you guys on the Country Roads webcast. But appreciate you guys. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.